Gerard Gallagher of EY. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, very nice. So if we could start off by you just sort of introducing yourself, talking about your role and
Sure.
what you do at EY.
Well, I think I've got one of the best jobs in the world right now. So EY is committed to helping our clients move to a more sustainable long-term business. And over the last 3 or 4 years, it's been popping up in so many different ways. And my role is I look after our client interaction or go-to-market for our sustainability clients all over the world. It's a real privilege to spend time with our clients talking about what they're worried about, what the challenges are, and how EY can either help or convene support to help them. So I feel very privileged, and it comes with a real need for us to share. And that's why I'm so happy to be here today to share what we're hearing from those clients. So that's my role. My background, unusual maybe for someone in sustainability. I'm an engineer. I came from the energy sector. So one of the culprits that maybe historically has got us into some of the challenges. So I'm sticking around to make sure I do my bit to fix and support creating a more sustainable planet.
Well, that's great, and you've certainly been supporting our efforts recently. You've been in Malta
Yes.
for Sustainability Live Malta, and you were at our event in London last September as well. How was Malta?
Malta was good. You know, I was speaking to one of your colleagues earlier that, you know, I'm from Scotland, from Glasgow. I was excited by the opportunity to go to Malta, and I engaged a lot with our business whilst I was there. But it was something funny. I arrived with some insight that for 330 days of the year, sunshine. So I packed my white trousers and I had a bit of a giggle when I was speaking to colleagues on stage that maybe I was a little bit optimistic in the weather. It rained and rained and rained, but it didn't dampen the energy or the enthusiasm of the community in Malta. So that was a real privilege to understand what's happening in Malta and help them go through their own pathways.
Oh, that's brilliant. I used to live in Glasgow actually, and I remember it rained probably about the amount of days that it's sunny in Malta.
No, I recognise that.
So yeah, maybe you brought the rain with you, I'm afraid.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of the talk that you were just doing.
Yeah.
So what did you talk about today? If you could sort of explain it sort of in simple terms for our viewers, that would be great.
My whole talk was actually trying to explain things in simple terms. So my conversation was about sustainability, and sustainability professionals have done an amazing job at trying to create awareness for the need for organizations to move to action. Right now, geopolitics is overwhelming actually for everyone, not just for sustainability colleagues, but for the whole world. And we all know about that. My conversation today was quite a pragmatic conversation, which is about if we want to move to action, and we need to move to action, sustainability needs to learn and speak the language of business, the language of growth. And that's quite an unusual thing. And I went on to say in my speech is we need to hyper-collaborate to find new value pools for sustainability in the business model. So new value pools to fund action. And I suggested that sustainability needs to hyper-collaborate, and it has to find a new friend called capitalism. So sustainability with its new best friend, capitalism, can find value pools that can create growth and help us still maintain our planetary boundaries. So I went through a lot of that in detail today, really using the language of business to really challenge your sustainability colleagues to collaborate and start to really understand how they can play into a more sustainable, profitable and growing business whilst the planet still thrives.
That's very interesting, because quite often the sort of discourse around sustainability is that you can't have profitability and sustainability at the same time. So if people are skeptical about it, they'll probably say something like that. But it'd be interesting to know from your perspective and the work that you do at EY, how sustainability can be the most valuable thing.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So historically, most organizations have been really focused on what I'll call the risk agenda to create action. So we know the risk of climate change, the last 10 years have been the warmest ever recorded. That's set to increase. GDP risk, went up from 1.8 in 2022 to be anticipated to be well over 10%. So the amount of impact that climate's having on businesses is huge. But that's not enough. Pour on the geopolitics of the new administration in the US, the omnibus and productivity drive in the EU, it's really confusing to understand what's way up. So what we're spending most of our time is really rolling our sleeves up in a way we've never done before to actually get into a very pragmatic, short-term, building cases for action with clients that creates value to their organization and the consumers, as well as staying within the planetary boundaries and their commitments. So this is a time where it's roll your sleeves up and get into detail. Now, the problem with that is every client is bespoke, every industry is bespoke. So it's not a business of generalisms. If you're an oil and gas client, or you're a consumer products, or a technology, or a bank, you have different pathways. But trying to create the case for change and get the functions of business like the CFO, the procurement, the supply chain, the legal, the CHRO, all on board as your advocate, is what we're doing a lot of right now.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's a massive challenge, I expect, but an extremely rewarding one because you're changing the world, one company at a time, which is exactly what we need to do.
And there's no big bang. This is a hands-on sport, and I'm really proud of the work that our teams have been doing and the impact that they're helping clients deliver. But I would say there is, with all the noise around geopolitics, it's quite easy to be overwhelmed. And one of the things I keep sharing, and one of the things we hear a lot from clients is, let's not let perfection get in the way of progress. We need to be pragmatic. Let's look at projects that are 6 months, and it can show value insofar as protecting the business from those risks of GDP that I mentioned, or creating new opportunities to reduce waste, reduce energy, and moving to other more sustainable forms. All of that, if you have the mindset, delivers tremendous value to organizations.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's really, really interesting, because I know, even just covering it as a journalist, that sustainability can be incredibly overwhelming. Especially with all the external factors like you were talking about. It's very important just to have small wins, I suppose, low-hanging fruit, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk. We're almost at the end, if that's all right. Just a little bit about any sort of innovations or trends that you're quite excited about when it comes to net zero, and whether you've seen them, your clients are using them, or something like that. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think when it comes to innovation and trends, it's quite easy to go to green tech and technology. So, the use of, I talked about the story of UPS, which is a public story. Their use of AI has allowed them to really optimize their deliveries, saving hundreds of thousands of tons of CO2, the equivalent of 20,000 vehicles no longer required on the road. That's a really good example. But also the part that's not talked about enough is innovation, is the way organizations are going about delivering on the commitments they have made and taking that into the operation. So I am really pleased, and I want to shine a light on organizations that are taking the sustainability strategy into the operations and thinking of ways to get that into the action of their business day by day. It's a process innovation. It's an innovation that unleashes the power of organizations. And it's not one that's often talked about, but that for me is really powerful if we want to move to action and get the full power of business behind it.